MMOlite. And essentially, to clarify, what is an MMOlite? I don't really know. It's just a game it has these weird permeated online features, such as open instance zones, these open areas. Sometimes they'll have like world bosses, things like that. Things that you might expect in an MMO. Just doesn't have the player count, doesn't have that true massive size. So they're massively multiplayer online, but not really. Just kidding. They're MMOlite, which is kind of a joke genre, honestly. But at the same time, I don't know. I think it actually describes these games kind of well. Hopefully, you guys understand that. These are going to be the new ones that are upcoming. You might be able to play some of them right now. Maybe they're brand new, and a lot of them early access, and some are right here on the horizon. I'm excited for them. If you guys like a lot of action RPGs, there's some cool stuff coming, so check out the list, keep the hype alive. Let's jump into the top 5. Alright guys, first game, talking about the brand new MapleStory 2. Now I think it's fine to put it in a list like this because it literally just came out as a free-to-play game that you can jump into. It's actually a lot of similarities to the original. It does change camera angle, does seemingly change art style, but I think the transition to 3D is going pretty well. And currently, I don't think the cash shop is so bad. So far, I'm having a lot of fun with it. I'm going to continue to stream it and play it and jam to it, and hopefully you guys join me too. I'm a rune blader. I'm just doing the do, and it's some pretty cool stuff. It's pretty good. So MapleStory 2, though, as an MMOlite, these zones are super compact and small. I know it's got that like Mario World kind of like art style. I don't know. It's ridiculous, but like I think it fits these cubic small little instances and zones. And you know, there's not too many enemies that show up on screen at any one time. The open world bosses aren't too ridiculous, too big. It's all very compact, and I think that really very well defines what I want from an MMOlite. It's basically an MMO, an MMO-ish features, but not a massive, just, you know, compact that all down and, you know, make it light, make it silly, throw in some mini games, things like that, you know, make it cute, casual. Don't worry, there is some challenge to this game. Oh, there is. But it's still just a really cool game that I think is kind of, you know, fun for the whole family sort of thing going on. And also, as an action RPG, it's pretty storied. It's pretty linear. Kind of can drag on. I think the tutorial is basically like all the way to level 50. But yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting game that you guys should definitely be giving a shot. And even if right now maybe there's not too much content in the game, there is some grind gating. There is definitely more on the horizon. As a brand new game, you know, looking forward, keeping the hype alive. Yeah, no, I think it's something that is worth at least being number 5 here on the MMOlite list. Now, number 4, I'm gonna have a game called Rend. Now, this title already had a massive drop in player count, which is why it's number 4, when in a lot of lists, I put it much higher, or even in number 1. Now, it's going to be kind of reminiscent to maybe something like Ark Survival Evolved or a lot of survival server games, but the difference is that it's going to be server or like realm versus realm versus realm. It's all one server technically, but you have faction versus faction versus faction gameplay that is really exciting when it happens, apparently. Yeah, it's got this weird time gating thing where PvP really is mostly focused on very specific times. Whenever your shield on your base goes down, you get attacked by hordes of monsters, and there's some like bigger monsters, these shadowy monsters come out and attack. You got to work together as a faction to actually pull together resources, build up your base, and then defend it when the time comes. But there's severe player limits on these servers and per faction, and then like you actually it's like what is it, once a couple times a week? It's very rare that, you know, these actual monster attacks and the PvP engages. By the way, the PvP happens after the monster attacks, and I guess it can kind of happen in the open in between areas. I don't know. It's all very hit or miss, mostly miss at the moment. I think it can be retooled and rebalanced, especially since players can actually own and operate their own servers and change around the world rules. I think there's definitely a lot of potential for this game, but right now, not on the right foot, which is why it's only number 4, despite me being so freaking excited for this game. If you saw my first impressions, you saw how long it dragged on for. That's kind of a tragedy, but hopefully Rend can pick up the pace coming up real soon. I think it's still worth keeping your eyes out for. Alright guys, number 3 is going to be Worlds Adrift. This is a game that stole my heart so quickly. Now, I can't wait to see what they end up doing with PvE. I heard maybe murmurings that maybe we're gonna get some bigger monsters and more, just more environmental stuff to do. But at the moment, Worlds Adrift is really more of a focus on a PvP sort of thing with, you know, craftable airships. It's pretty ridiculous, kind of steampunky, and I really love the action combat in this game. You're swinging around with grappling hooks. It's so physics-oriented, it's ridiculous. And it is proclaimed as an MMO, and it might actually get there eventually, but I think technically, if we had to separate MMO and MMOlite, it definitely is an MMOlite. It's not this giant open world like you would expect maybe in Black Desert or Albion Online. It is, yeah, no, it's more of like Destiny kind of thing going on. You know, it's cool. No, it's great. It's cool. It's cool for what it is. But just know that the game is pretty empty at the moment. There's a lot of open space. That's why I really want that PvE. And I mean, I could show you the trailer footage. I could show you the gameplay, and it probably looks way more exciting than what I'm describing. But the reality of the game is you should look at my first impression. and then, you know, see your first steps into the game and see the world and how more vacuous it actually truly is. So if they can tighten up the game coming up in the future, which I believe they are, I mean, they're even implementing PvE servers, period. So if they could just tighten it up, the future of Worlds Adrift, I think, is on the right track. All right, guys, number 2 is The Division 2. Now, the last time I talked about this, I'm talking about like in an action RPG sense. Very interesting. You know, you got your shooting mechanics, you got your RPG mechanics, your paper dolls, you got all the statistical stuff that you might expect in like an MMORPG. It's kind of got some MMO features, like online features. You know, there's persistent features. They do have open PvP zones, some open areas, etc., like all these other games. But I think the game flow overall was a little bit misleading in the original, at least. That's my only complaint, is that it was portrayed as, in its marketing, as like this big open world, and when we get into the game, when everyone started streaming it and doing reviews on it, it was like, well, it's actually like, you know, a lot smaller, compartmentalized. It's actually, you know, the RPG aspects really ruin the shooting mechanics, etc., etc. Basically, the core concept seemed perverted in like every way that it could be. Wasn't the worst game, but I think The Division 2 is really aiming to fix those, you know, poor blemishes that it had. If it can actually focus as a proper MMOlite and really tighten up the gameplay and make it so that the RPG mechanics don't hinder the gunplay, make the gunplay fast and fun, and give us some really fun gadgets and cool things to make the game more explosive. And then, of course, obviously, I need a little bit more impact when it comes to the social sectors of the game. I want the PvP to be maybe more of a focus. At least that's just my bias. That's what I would really appreciate, because that's kind of how the game was a little bit the image was marketed. So let me know what you guys think. What do you guys want from The Division 2? But in my opinion, I think it'd be great as a PvEVP game, you know, open world area that, you know, has got AI and mobs, but still has that proliferation of PvP. I really, really want that permeated throughout the entire game and it would really be the focus. So if that can happen, then oh my god, it's my number 2. And if not, then otherwise, it's probably gonna be a good game. A lot of people are gonna like it, and it deserves to be on the list regardless. Okay, guys, we got some honorable mentions. So the first game that I want to talk about is Conqueror's Blade, which is being promoted as an MMO. Now, when I played it, I did not see the MMO in the game. It reminded me a lot of Tiger Knight Empire War. In fact, I think Conqueror's Blade is going to just completely outright take over that slot. It's kind of, I guess, like a few other medieval strategy RPG type of games, but this one's focused on being online and, you know, cooperating with a faction and, you know, making a guild and doing stuff and things. Now, you're supposed to be doing a lot of stuff online, like as if it was a sandbox, is how they describe it. When I played in the testing, it did not quite work like that, so that's why I'm putting it as an honorable mention, because I don't even know if I can consider it an MMO-lite. It seems like the gameplay is more like it's kind of lobbied or semi-lobbied or some bullcrappery. We got to see when the game fully releases, and then it kind of uses a meta map. So basically, if Conqueror's Blade is an MMO from what I'm understanding the game is, then that means like For Honor is an MMO, or, you know, some other random games with just meta maps like Heroes and Generals is actually Heroes and Generals is probably the closest comparison that I can make. I do think Conqueror's Blade might have some open areas. It's just, again, I didn't play that. So maybe actually my own experience is hindering my unbiased judgment. But basically, it's a really sick game, you know, from what I saw. I really did like Tiger Knight Empire War. If you guys didn't see that first impression, I'm going to do a first look as soon as possible on Conqueror's Blade. So, you know, I kind of like that war bandish, or debatably you could say For Honor-ish. You know, I just like the melee combat, full in a 3D space, but I love the added RTS aspect. You know, you're actually commanding like a little platoon or whatever that you can actually utilize in tactics. And of course, working with your team. Oh, that's just sick. So yeah, if they can actually put this in open areas and give us things like, you know, sieges, like proper siege combat, oh man, as an MMO, like, this game would be amazing. And otherwise, it's a cool game. It's gonna be a niche game, but really, if they can hone it on that MMO-lite features, it's gonna be great. Next up, we have Temtem. Temtem, I'm putting as an MMO-lite. It is being called like a Pokemon-like MMO, but I don't know how I feel about this game. I actually did a pre-impressions because I looked at the Kickstarter and I saw the trailer footage, and in the towns and in a lot of the gameplay, it did seem massive. But at the same time, I know it's going to be more of like a co-op thing. It's going to be more of like buddies, duels. It's going to be 1v1 PvP. And I know there's games like Walk-Fu, and there are actual like turn-based or highly instanced MMOs. I get that. But I simply just don't know the player count, and I simply don't know the true massive impact. So is this an MMO or not? I don't know. I'm just gonna go with my gut and say it's not really an MMO. I think it's gonna be definitely an MMO-lite, like really hard, solid MMO-lite for sure. It's gonna be really social. Hopefully they do have a big focus on trading, somehow have some economy stuff going on in there. I don't know if they can do raids like we have in Pokemon Go, but if they could do more, you know, engaging online stuff other than just happen to see people pass you by, which is what are basically the case in most Pokemon MMOs. So if we can actually have true engagement, then I'm going to be so freaking on board for Temtem. All right, guys, we've been yapping, hooping, and hollering about a lot of different games. A lot of them you guys probably already knew about. But let's talk about Torchlight Frontiers, right? This is another one you probably didn't know about. But I do just need to mention that this is actually the reason why I made the list, is that this game is exciting. And I really want more games like this. And I want more games to be aware of what they are. Like, I want them to be aware that they're not really MMOs. But at the same time, that they're not just co-op action RPGs. There is something in between. There is something a little bit more. And Torchlight Frontiers is definitely standing on that fence. A lot of people want to call it an MMO. A lot of people just want to call it, it's like, oh, it's just like Diablo. It's Path of Exile. No. This game does do some extra things, some extra steps. The things that really makes MMOlites is the fact that it does have like these open zones, and it does, or it should require cooperation, and should have like, open world PvP, PvEVP, or like PvE that, like open world bosses, right? You need cooperation, you gotta work together to tackle that. Or maybe you'll have like procedural zones or something, and people have to work together to kind of map out the zone as you go into it. Some form of online social features, if it's an extra added layer of economy or something like that. And Torchlight Frontiers is probably, I think, going to be just like Torchlight. It's going to be Torchlight, but with those added features that I just kind of threw at your faces there. Hopefully your earballs will open, but basically, yeah, that's what's going to make it special. It's going to be an action RPG. Yes, it's going to be like Diablo in a lot of ways, Path of Exile, and many others. But it's going to have these open zones, open dungeons, apparently. And it's going to have this really big focus on daily grinding, daily logins, playing with your friends, and jumping in and having this big social space to actually play around with. But hopefully, they properly gamify it. I can't stress that enough. So many of these games, you just see people in passing. So many of these games, it's just like so half-hearted. Or it's just a way to basically turn the game into a service, and then they take away the game aspects. I don't want that. I really want proper MMOlites. If you guys don't know what I consider MMOlites, you should actually go see my top 5 MMOlite. That is where I properly define it. But I think Torchlight Frontiers is going to hit that definition very hard. I think it's going to be pretty fun. I think it's going to be polished at least. But whether it's the action RPG you want or the MMO you want, I don't know. Probably going to be somewhere in between. And if it's too far on the left or the right of that, it's going to be awkward for everyone. So hopefully it hits right in the middle, which is basically what I said for all these games. So I think it's a balancing act. But Torchlight Frontiers has got the money, and I think the passion and the drive, and definitely the fan base to go and do it. Get it done. All right, guys, that's it. That's my top 5, and also 2 honorable mentions that I threw down. What do you guys think about the term MMOlite? And again, I got a video that you guys should go watch out. Just type in MMOlite into my channel. You guys are going to find out a bunch. I'm doing a lot of top 10s or 5s and, I don't know, list videos and reviews on online action RPGs and action RPGs, and I'm really focusing on stuff like that at the moment in time. So I'm having fun with it. Hopefully you guys are too. I got Looter Shooter, top 5 list coming up for that, and, many more. If you have any ideas, please let me know. And if you want to collaborate, always open to it, dudes. Friends and family. You guys make the channel what it is. So keep the hype alive. My name's Skylint, and I'll see you again next time.